it's also referred to as the 019 code. That's your 0, and that's your 19. That's the maximum unit. 19 is written as 3 bars, 15 plus 4 dots, which gives it 19. And it's actually very easy mathematics to learn. It's especially easy to teach your children. And as we'll see, this mathematics, because it's a 20 count, it's all on your fingers and your toes. I've also got a little device here. Hand me that. This is a vigesimal abacus. Okay? So that the different positions, for instance, if we're going to write today's number 8, it's very easy. See, all the little 5 units down here. The gray shells are the bars. So on each line there's 4 small white shells, which are the units, 3 gray shells, which are the bars, or 5 units, and then a large shell, which is 0. So for instance, today is just kin 8, 1 bar. Like that, okay? And then, for instance, if we say that Tzolk'in has 260 kin, how do we do that? We would say, okay, 260 kin, that means down here there's 0, and 260, that's going to be, and our second, where's my eraser? So 260, that number there, that's going to be, that's 1320. So in the second position, in the lower position, there's a 0, and the second position where 1 unit equals 20 is going to be 13. So 260 is written in this way. Okay. In the dot bar notation, if you transliterate that back into the Arabic notational system, then that's written like this. And on our little abacus, you'll have, over here you'll have 3 of these units on the second line, and 2 of these, 10, 1, 2, 3, 13, but each unit here equals 20, so 13 times 20, that's 260, and down here, just your 0, right there, and so on your abacus, that's how it would look. Okay, you can, on this abacus here, you can go up to, this one goes up to where each unit is equal to 3,200,000. So this you could do, count a lot of apples, okay, or nuts or berries, okay, whatever you want to trade with your 1320 neighbor on your bioregional Maggie's farm. Well, so that's a little bit about this notation system. This is the mathematics of time, okay, which is not the same as the mathematics of space. It's something that the ancient Mesoamericans and particularly the Maya knew about, but which, once the Spanish conquest and the imposition of the Gregorian calendar and the Gregorian culture, was devalued and thought to be of no importance. When the modern scientist Vernadsky said that we know everything about the biosphere except for time, that and he said the reason we don't know about time is because we're using divisions of space to measure time, as in the clock, okay? And when that has nothing to do with time, the part that Vernadsky didn't know is that correctly that there is a mathematics of time, and that there is a science of time, and that the mathematics of time is based on this vigesimal system. The human race is learning this, could have learned this, as I said, if this had not been the Velitropa sector, where we're doing the free will experiment, and this was in a good parallel universe, we would have all been on this system about 400 years ago. And the science of time would be very advanced, and we probably would have avoided a lot of the calamities that we're experiencing now. But this is the experimental zone, so we're only learning about it now, okay? So far, this is not taught anywhere because this has just been discovered. This is knowledge that is being brought to light, and so we are introducing this now, that this is the mathematics of time and that this is the law of time that we are studying here in our little Arcturian Velotropin galactic kindergarten. Well, next, moving right along, okay? So when we look at this system here, you'll notice over here, of course, someone has been nice enough to put up a token here. And when we're looking at the graphic this morning from the dynamics of time, you saw that the 1320 matrix, the Tzolk'in is actually the fourth dimensional timing matrix, or the timing gauge, through which the different time vector potentials are processed and accessed through points of time in space, which are called bodies in time. And the Tzolk'in, you'll see when you look at it carefully, is literally a 1320 matrix. It's got 13 vertical rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The point about the 7, as we were showing yesterday, 4 is to 7, as 7 is to 13. You'll notice here that there's a green pattern, a symmetrical green pattern, and the 7th row here is the only one that does not have any of the green units in it, and that this demonstrates the principle of the 7 to 13. Actually, you'll see when you look at this carefully that the 13 and the 1, the 2 and the 12th, the 3rd and the 11th, the 4th and the 10th, the 5th and the 9th, and the 6th and the 8th are all have a somewhat of a mirror symmetry relationship to each other, and then the 7 has no mirror relationship. It's the central point. That's why it is also referred to as the mystic column, or the axis of the eternal present, the here and now, the center of the radial matrix. Because as we said, the qualities of fourth dimensional time, that you're dealing with the qualities of the radial matrix. Now you can see a little bit of what we mean by that when you're looking at the Tzolk'in, that it has a symmetry this way, but you can see it also has a mirror symmetry from above to below, from the first 10 positions down and the 10 positions up like this. So it's pure radial symmetry. This is a radial matrix. This is a pure demonstration of what is meant by radial matrix, so that when you come to see where is the center, well, the center is a void point right here. And if you see where it is, you'll see the numbers that are written. If you start at the very top up there, 1, 2, 3, 4 dots, and then a bar. And you see it continues on down until you get to 13, okay? And then you'll see that it starts over again. One dot, okay, until you get to, again over here, to 13, and so on. Let's see, 13 right there. And then you see that the 13, this numbering of 1 to 13, 1 to 13, 1 to 13, repeats exactly 20 times. So the final sequence, 1 to 13, is right here. So you have 20 sequences of 13. Again, the 1320. You have 13 by 20, okay? So when you look at the very center, where's the absolute center of this? It's going to be in an invisible point right here at the very middle of the 7th column, and it's going to be between a place where it's 13 and 1. Okay, so that's the void central point, the void point of the radio matrix. And we could say this is the absolute now at that point. And we could visualize that the now, when we talk about the radial cosmology of the now, the radiating out from this point, you could just look at this just as a pattern and see it in that way, that at any moment, every moment is precisely like that, that we're at the central point, especially if you are conscious and aware and awake, okay, that then the reality of the present moment of the eternal now is continuously radiating out from that central point of your now consciousness. This central column is exactly like your spinal column. Okay? And then on either side you have 6 sides here, okay, which could correspond to any number of things. The 13 articulations of the body, which would be the neck, which is at the center, this articulation here, and then on either side the shoulders, and then the elbows, and then the wrists, and then the hips, the knees, and the ankles. Okay, you could look at it in that kind of way. There's a lot of different ways. This is the basis of what we call a cosmic code. So there's an infinite number of ways that this can be used and it can be read. This was based originally on a pattern that was maintained by the Maya up to the 19th century, which is called the Buk Shok, B-U-K, and then X-O-C, Buk Shok, which literally means permutation table, because it's also an absolute permutation table. You can take any corner. If you start at the 4 corners as a radial matrix, okay, you see that corner up there is 1, this corner up here is 7, this corner down here is 7, and this corner over here is 13. Of course, when you add those numbers together, they're 28. 28 is 4 times 7, so 4 is to 7 is 7 is to 13 is coded into this matrix. You have that matrix in your illustration so you can study it in different ways. The 13 moon calendar is contained in the green pattern. So you have, for instance, because you have any 4 sets anywhere in this will add up to 28. For instance, you can go right here. 1, 11, find the corresponding position up here, 3 and 6. 3 and 6 are 9. Is that correct? No, right row? Am I in the right row? Yeah, right here. Between this position here, right. Okay, no. One more. This one. Up here, thank you. Okay, there we go. Okay, if you take the 3, this one, there's 3 and 13, that's 16, and then down here, 11, that's 27, and 1 is 28. Okay, so anywhere you go, you can find any radial pattern in there. Every single one is going, all 4 sets will always add up to 28. Okay, this is 4 is to 7, 7 is to 13. Okay, here's your 7 is to 13, okay, which adds up to 91. If you add up the numbers in every single one of these rows, they're all going to be 91. Okay, because when you add 1 to plus 2 plus 3 plus 13, it equals 91. And any 4 sets, 4 is to 7, always going to add up to 28. 1 plus 2 plus 3, etc. plus 7 always equals 28. So the whole code, 4 is to 7, as 7 is to 13, is contained within this 1320 matrix, which is the graphic demonstration of the 1320 frequency constant, which is the universal constant of time, just as the velocity of the speed of light, okay, at 186,000 miles a second is the constant for space, okay, that the 1320 frequency matrix is the constant for time, okay. So we can actually see it, we can actually look at it, we can actually study it. The science of the law of time is not meant to be an esoteric science. It's not meant for people in white coats in secret little laboratories. financed by private societies and governments. This is meant for absolutely everybody. It's a very basic, simple, elementary mathematical program. So the 13 moon calendar is found in this. When you look at the green pattern here, which is referred to as either as the loom of Maya, because it's a weaving. Okay, it's also referred to as the binary triplet. Binary because it's two halves here, this half and that half, and triplet because you have a pattern that repeats this part up here and this part down here. It's 1, 2, and then the zone of transformation in the center. So it's also referred to as the binary triplet pattern of the cosmic code. And the 13, if you look at this, there's exactly 52 of these green squares, 26 on this side, 26 on that side, 13 above on this side here, 13 above on that side there, 13 down here, and 13 down here. When you take each of these sets, this is the first set that we've talked about, 1, 7, 7, and 13. That's the first set of 28. And then the second set, right here, you see this 5, 13, 9, and 1. Okay, that's the second set. And you come in and you have your first 5 sets here, and then you have another 3 sets here, that's 8, and then there's 5 sets on each side here that then have their counterparts here. So there's 13 sets. Yes, your 13 moons. 13 times 28 is 364. And then your day out of time then is this invisible point between the 13 and the 1 right here. So that's your calendar. The calendar is already encoded in the binary triplet loom of Maya form that distinguishes the pattern, the 52-part pattern of the Tzolk'in, as it's called. Tzolk'in means sacred count, because it's also, when you count, there's exactly 260 units, and each of those units is called a kin, and so there's 260 kin. And it's this is the one universal constant through all the different calendars that were used in Mesoamerica, in ancient Mexico and Central America. And that, as I said, the function of this calendar was to create the fourth dimensional timing gauge to synchronize the cyclical calendars, the solar calendar, the lunar calendar, and the other galactic type of calendars that Maya used in their heyday. So, but we see what's interesting is that we mentioned over here, we have the 019 code, which is the complete count. Okay, up to using the number 19 and the 0 there, and then we also have just the 13 count. Okay. You'll see here the 019 code corresponds, you'll see on the far left, to the 20 seals over here, what are called the solar seals or the glyphs or the icons. Okay, and each of these has a number. Okay, as you start at the top, dragon, or what was called imish by the Maya, dragon, that's 1, and 19 is down here is the storm, kawak, which is what's called by the Maya, and then 20, the 0, is the sun. Okay. When you look at the seals, you have you have a number of sequences. Okay, this is your 20 count is actually encoded in these seals here. So it's implicit in the fact that there's 20 horizontal rows. Okay. But when you look at these seals, the first 6 seals, the dragon is birth, the wind is spirit, the night is abundance, the yellow seed is flowering, the serpent is life force, and the wool bridger is death. Okay, so 1 to 6 is the cycle of birth to death. 6 is the number of the cycle of birth to death. Okay. When you get to 7, then you get to another sequence. Okay, 7 to 19. Okay, this is also, we'll be talking about this also later on. 7 to 19 describes the cycle of what we call redemption and resurrection. And then the final, the 0, the sun, refers to the state of enlightenment. So you have the cycle, 1 to 6 is the cycle of birth to death. Right? And then from hand to storm, from blue 7 to blue 19, okay, that's the cycle of redemption and resurrection. And then the 20, which is the 0, the sun, that's the condition of self-existing enlightenment. So that's very briefly what we're talking about with this pattern here. When you have this cycle here, the hand is accomplishment, and then you have the star, which is elegance, okay? And then you have the moon, the dog, the monkey, and the human, okay? This creates the cycle of realization, which is necessary for redemption and resurrection, where we have the quality of universal water, of heart or love, of magic, and then of the human itself, which is the power of free will. That's the 12th position, okay, is the human. That's the power of free will. The science of space and the time measurements that are the function of the science of space are based on the 12. Okay, they don't go beyond that. Okay, the 60 is a function of the 12 times 5. Okay, but it doesn't advance to the 13. The 13 is the Skywalker, where you actually then have the significance of the power of the human to transcend its situation. So you have the Skywalker, which is the 13th power, the Wizard, which is the 14th, the Eagle, which is the power of vision, which is the 15th, and the Warrior then is the 16th power, which is the power of intelligence. So you see that you have this build-up till you finally get from free will, then the intelligence, okay, which is, intelligence is the capacity of maintaining consciousness, okay, of maintaining consciousness and of discriminating. That's why it says the intelligence is fearless, okay, and intelligence questions, okay, because real intelligence is always in a process of discriminating qualities of being and existence, okay, and then questioning where it is in the whole process. So then from there, then you get to the final sequence here. From here we have the Earth, which is the power of navigation. Okay, that one. Then we have the true power of navigation, the mirror, which is the power of endlessness and reflection, and finally the storm, which is the power of self-generation. So that in the final process of that cycle, that the capacity or the power of self-generation is attained. This is the power of 19, okay? And then you have finally the sun, which is the power of enlightenment, which is the 0, okay, in the 019 code. So these also correspond to planets. There's 20 of these. There's 10 planets in the solar system, including the notoriously destroyed planet Maldek. And so, for instance, these last two correspond to the planet Pluto, okay? And then the dragon at the top is Neptune, and the wind is Uranus, the night is Saturn, the seed is Jupiter, and then Maldek is represented by the serpent and by the wizard. And then Mars, which you'll notice that then Mars is represented by the world bridger, which is the power of death. Okay? And this again then has to do with the mystery of Mars and the face of Mars and all of that. Then you had the Earth interestingly enough, the Earth is represented by the hand, of course, and by the human. Every planet has two powers, a solar prophetic power and a galactic karmic power. That's because the sun as a whole system, called the heliocosm or the heliosphere, the sun functions just like a giant organism. It breathes in and it breathes out. And when it breathes in, that's taking in a big galactic karmic breath. And it gets to the sun, and the sun goes, and it blows out what's called a solar prophetic breath. Okay, so the galactic karmic power of the Earth is represented by the hand. Okay, the hand, the power of accomplishment. We are born with the power of accomplishment. Right? Our hands are able to do. They have the facility. It represents the facility of the communication from the brain to the hand that gives us the capacity to create the world that we create, whether it's a garden or whether it's a television set. Okay, that comes from this power of the hand, and it's all innate. Everything, as I said yesterday, everything is already recorded. It says, as I've quoted the verses of the Quran, verse Surah 57, 22 and 23, that everything that happens on earth was already recorded in a book. Therefore, don't grieve over anything you missed, and don't be proud of anything that you've accomplished. It was already waiting for you to do. You just were there at the right moment and had the intelligence to do the right thing. Okay? So all of that accomplishment, that's why it's all in our DNA. We've already got the program, okay, for all of this. So the Earth is the hand and the human. Then today, which is the star, the 8th position, which that refers to Venus, okay? It's interesting that Venus is the only planet in the solar system that turns counterclockwise. A day on Venus is longer than a year. It takes that long for the planet to turn around while it goes around the sun, okay? So it's a very interesting phenomenon, unique planet. We Arcturians were there. That's all that form there is called the shield of Arcturus. Okay, it's the star with the 4 dots, and when you have the 4 points and the 4 dots creates the 8 for the 8th position. Okay, which is the power of 8, which is the galactic power of the star. So there's a special mystery in that. Then the Mercury is the planet closest to the sun. So right here, actually, you're finishing the galactic karmic breath, and then you come to Mercury, which is represented by the signs of the moon and the dog. Okay, so the moon is the final, represents the final breath of the galaxy reaching the sun, and then the dog represents the beginning of the solar exhalation. That's the dog that starts that represents the love and loyalty. The dog has always followed the human. Okay, wherever in human culture that the dog showed up very early, it was always following the human and was showing the human a kind of loyalty and teaching in that particular way. If you read the Arcturus probe, you'll see that dogs come from a special universe called K9. And then Venus, the solar prophetic Venus is represented by the monkey, which, again, if you go back to, it's interesting, you go back into early Egyptian history and mythology, the monkey, of course, is associated with the god or the personage known as Thoth, okay, which is actually the bringer of wisdom, and then which is also associated with Hermes Trismegistus, which is the bringer of wisdom and the source of much of the Western occult or alchemical tradition. And so that's the power of magic and so on. The other side of the Mars, of the Martian mystery, is the Skywalker. And Skywalker. Hey, Skywalker. Hey, we're talking about you. Okay, yeah. He's the other side of the Martian mystery. Uh-huh. Yeah, good. And he's the other side of the Martian mystery. He knows it right now. He was in the Zabuya. It's okay. We love him. Doing a necessary thing. Okay. It wasn't just copying Z's. He was participating in the mystery. So that's why he's a Skywalker. Okay. He's out there. Okay, that's the other side of the mystery, and that represents the beginning of the transcendence of the human. So all this fascination with Mars, like this trip to Mars and the movie and all that kind of stuff. Well, you might recall, what was the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie about Total Recall? Okay, that was another one. Okay, that had to do with that because hey, we were there before. We have all been here before, and all that kind of stuff. It's true. And we were all there before, too. That's why we're all fascinated about getting back there and keeping information about that secret. And you know, it's just kind of oozing out. And they're saying that the Illuminati thinks that's going to be their getaway planet when they finally destroyed this planet, and etc. Okay, well, that's the Skywalker, which is also Quetzalcoatl, okay, the prophet. He was a Skywalker. And he also has a lot to do with that mystery of Mars. Okay, and so... as we said, the wizard is related to Maldek because it's the wizards that have to restore the memory of Maldek. But if the wizards aren't on Maldek anymore, they're on Earth. Maybe you could be one of those budding Earth wizards that's supposed to piece together the fragments of the Maldekian asteroid belt and explain what happened there, okay? That's why this seminary is happening, okay? Because we're looking for those people who can wake up their memory a little bit to restore some of those fragments. Then Jupiter is the eagle, and the seed up there, the vision and the power of flowering, and the Saturn is the warrior and the knight. And Uranus, which is very important, is the earth. Kaban is also Olin, okay, and the sunstone, okay, is Uranus, and also the wind. Bolonik, she's my partner from Uranus, okay, she's the wind. And then Neptune is the mirror and the dragon. Well, that's a little bit of that stuff. What's important is not to lose sight of the numbers, and you can study all that. Fortunately, you have the big graduation book, the 28 Meditations on the Law of Time, which you can study and read, and you can get more information about this. Now I'd like to just turn to this point of the 13, and why. Now you see go back briefly to the calendar. The calendar has the 13 moons, okay? Those 13 moons recapitulate this 1 to 13. That's called the wave spell cosmology, or the cosmology of time, okay? And this cosmology is a continuously recapitulating cosmology, so that and it takes this particular form. Okay, this is actually the form of movement in time. It's referred to as a wave spell. We have a wonderful time with our translators in foreign countries. How do we translate that? Spanish, they say onda encantada. Okay, it's an enchanted wave. Well, kind of. Okay, and so on. And now the Russians are wrestling with it. The Japanese have been wrestling with it. Okay. So the wave spell, and then the wave spell has a very particular structure, which we refer to as the architecture of time. Okay, it has a magnetic gate where you enter, and that's why it's called magnetic. So the whole cosmology is there. Magnetic, lunar. The second point, lunar, is what polarizes. Okay, polarizes and stabilizes. The third position, 3, is electric. So you have the magnetic, lunar, and then the electric is the power of bonding. That's the service activation power. Okay, when you get 3, things become. When there's 2 people, you know that. You sit in a room, if you've never been with that person before, look at them, and often it's very easy to polarize because it's just a natural instinct. Okay, 3 people, you get it together, and then it activates. Okay, so and then the fourth is the self-existing power, the 4, which creates the self-existing power of forms. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. So that's a static power. The static powers are 4, 8, and 12. Okay, galactic and 4, galactic integrity is 8, and then the crystal 12. Okay, but when you get to the 5th one, the overtone is the overtone power or tone, and that corresponds. You have the magnetic. You have 1, 5, and then over here 9, the solar, and 13, the cosmic. Okay, those all form what's called the 4th dimensional the 4th dimensional sequence of the wave spells held together by those 4 powers. The lunar is the 1st dimension, the rhythmic is the 1st dimension, and the planetary is the 1st dimension. The 2nd dimension is the electric, the resonant, and the spectral. The 3rd dimension which is the dimension of form. The 2nd dimension is the dimension of sense, electric, resonant, spectral. Those are all sensory qualities. The 1st dimension, which is the grounding, is the lunar, the rhythmic, and the planetary. And then the 4th dimension is the form, which is the self-existing, the galactic, and the crystal. So all this is a cosmology. It builds on itself. The first 4 established, and then you have the overtone power. Like when the overtone is like when you do overtone chanting, and suddenly da 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 da, it comes all down. Okay, so you're dealing with a whole vertical vibratory sequencing, which brings messages or information from higher dimensions. That's why it's called overtone. And then you establish, and then you extend. Okay, you extend by power of rhythm, which is 6, power of attunement, which is the resonant 7, and then the power of integrity is attained when you reach the 8. When you reach the 8, then you have the power of integrity. That's why when you look at this seal, you see it's totally there. It's got the 4 points and the 4 dots, and it's all held together there as an integral structure. And then the 9th, and then here's the phase of establish, extend, and then convert. When you get to the solar moon, these are the towers: the overtone tower and the solar tower. And then from the solar tower is the power of conversion. The solar energy goes to the planetary level, and then the planetary, interestingly enough, converts to the spectral. Okay, that's the rainbows in the sky. Okay, and then attain its final form in the crystal. Notice all these little crystals are showing up. Okay, because they're very, very primary. They're the first form and structure, and they're also the last. When is this crystal going to disintegrate? It'll be disintegrate long after you and I have been around wondering when it's going to disintegrate. So it ends up at the end. It'll outlast us. Okay? And inside it, if you look at these crystals, you'll see, very often you'll see those wonderful, wonderful electric iridescent rainbow colors. That's the spectrals, okay? That's the spectral power within the crystal that animates the crystal. And then the cosmic gate, when you leave, that's the cosmic right here. And then you take magic flight, and you return again to the magnetic. That sequencing repeats 20 times in the Tzolk'in. This is fractal, see? In the Tzolk'in, you can take that's a 13-day sequence. Or you can look at this, and this is a 13-moon sequence. Okay? That's what we mean, the fractal quality or power of time. Okay, so we have the radial matrix, the fractal, and the fractal power. And then, of course, when we're looking at the 13-moon structure, this form is also referred to as a planetary service wave spell. Okay, it describes a whole process that in the first moon you set your purpose for the year, and through that, the second moon, you establish what are the challenges to the purpose. Okay, the third moon, you establish how are you going to what kind of service are you going to start to develop to accomplish that purpose in the fourth moon? What kind of form are you going to have for that service? Until you get to where we are in the planetary moon, we are manifesting what we set forth in the magnetic moon. In the magnetic moon, we said, okay, of this year, we said, this is the 7th year of prophecy. We've got to complete this whole cycle of delivering the message in the planetary moon. At the very end of the planetary moon, we have to go to the beast and complete the process no later than the 4th week. And we're doing it in the 4th week of the planetary moon because that 4th week of the planetary moon is the 1st week of the last 13 weeks. Okay, so again, we're starting another 13-week wave spell this week, and the last week will be right here, and we'll see the first week and the last week also recapitulate each other, just as the 1st and the 13th have an equivalent pattern. Okay, so what we're doing now, by the power of synchronic time travel, we are establishing what we're going to be doing on the 13th week of this quarter. Okay, so that's why we're here. We have to be getting ready for what we are going to do in the 13th week of this quarter. So what we're establishing here, the knowledge that we're establishing here, we want to bring to fulfillment when we get to the 13th week of this quarter. We'll see the 13th week of the quarter is coded by the exact same codon, the dissolving codon, as is the first week. So that's the other reason we chose this time chose us to be here, because in this way we would have a mini recapitulation of the whole 13. Okay, 4 is to 7 is 7 is to 13, and this way we'd also be readying ourselves at this point to accomplish something on the 13th week of this quarter, okay, which is the same as this fractal wave spell form. It can be 13 weeks, it creates 1 quarter, 13 moons creates 1 year, 13 days creates 1 wave spell of kin, and so on. So that's the fractal cosmology of time. It's now one other point with this calendar we showed you yesterday. You can look at this calendar as a schematic just of 28 days, but you'll notice in this calendar that the calendar has all the repetition in the sequences of 20 of the 20 solar seals. So what this 13 moon calendar has been coordinated with the Tzolk'in to create not only a cyclic order in time, but synchronic order in time. Synchronic order in time is established whenever you have 2 cycles combined in such a way that they create perfect sequences of patterns, and that this then begins to normalize what we refer to as synchronicity. So for instance, today, as Bolonik said, this galactic star, well, that's my father, Enrique Arguelles. So I can tune into that. That gives me some, for myself, entry into synchronic order and into the synchronicity. I also know other people who this is today too, so I can tune into those other people. I can tune into to my friend Reinhard Rugi in Mexico, and I can tune into the highly controversial, but from my experience, very, very close friend, Minister Louis Farrakhan, who's also galactic star. So we have various galactic stars that we can tune into. Anyone can do this once you start following this patterning and seeing what the galactic signatures are and seeing how these things show up from day to day, from kin to kin. So so what we have here then is not just the cyclic order, but the synchronic order in time. That's what we're establishing. That's why this has special relevance and meaning. This calendar also can coordinate all the lunar calendars, and it also can coordinate the other 13 moon calendars. This is just a synchronization vehicle. So it's a synchronization vehicle that is a function of the revelation of the discovery of the law of time, which is also an integral part of a very evolved prophetic revelatory process. The prophetic revelatory process that began with the revelation of the prophecy of the 13 heavens and the 9 hells, the revelation of the Telectonon prophecy, the revelation and the completion of the prophecies of the tradition of the Chilam Balam, which are all Mayan prophecies, and that they all refer specifically to how do we close the cycle properly, how do we get out of here alive long enough to close the cycle, and see to it that we attain the moment of galactic synchronization in the year 2013, which of course is just 1320 in reverse. Everything is coded by the law of time. You can go, once you understand the law of time, you can go anywhere and you'll see that the patterns of the law of time exist in many other forms and structures, the Kabbalah or whatever you want. You will begin to see these patterns. But first you should understand what is the nature of the law of time, how does this work. One other point, when I talk about the synchronization of the patterns in the cycles, that 260-day cycle synchronizes with the 365-day cycle absolutely every 52 years. Every 52 years there's exactly 73 Tzolk'in cycles. So if whatever day you're born on, whatever your galactic signature is, for instance, mine is spectral monkey. When I was 52 years old, it was on my birthday. It was the day spectral monkey again. So that's a very, very precise pattern. That's why we ignore the leap year day. We admit that it's a day, okay, but until we are out of having to synchronize with the Gregorian calendar, we ignore that as being a day. We either extend the monkey day that always happens before a leap year day, which is the monkey plays magic, so it's very appropriate, or call it the 00 Hunab Ku. When we're not on the Gregorian calendar, we'll have calendar councils and deal with that extra time, or we'll use our collective telepathy and go, slow down Earth until it's just pure 365 days, and we don't have to deal with that problem. But so that 52 and 73, 52 solar years equals 73 galactic spins at Tzolk'in. Galactic spin is what the Tzolk'in is called. 52 to 73. That same ratio is in the ratio of the year, 52 7-day weeks and 73 5-day chromatics. We talked about the last of them being the 73rd being the Wyatt. So you have 52 years, 73 galactic spins, 52 weeks, 73 5-day chromatics. So again, we have the same fractal process, the fractal mathematics of time. It's a perfect harmony. It is a perfection. The mathematics of time. The reason why we live in such an imperfect world is because we've been trying to apply measurements of space to understand time. When we understand the science of time, we will have literally a perfect world. It will take a little time, but it will happen much faster than we can imagine now. That's why this mission that we have on this planet is so critical at this very moment in time. It could not have come at any other time. The revelation of the discovery of the law of time could not have occurred at any other time. It had to begin exactly as it did on August 16th, 1987, Blue Electric Eagle, the harmonic convergence. From the Mayan factor in 1987, here's my battered copy of the Mayan factor. I find it fun to study my books, just so no one gets smarter than me. They're always coming, hey, I found this, did you know that? Oh my God, they're ahead of me. When you have to write books the way I have to write books, you have to keep rereading your own books. they happen very fast. I'd like to see someone else write the Arcturus probe in 6 weeks without changing a word. So, from the mind factor, it was very clear to our agent on Earth, that notorious old Jose Arguelles, that he hadn't finished his job and he had to go figure out the mathematics of the Mayan calendar. And from that, of course, the first thing was the discovery of the 1260 and 1320 timing frequencies, which we've been covering to some degree over the last 2 days. It's amazing. This is a 7-day seminary, but we're just touching the surface. Okay, just scratching a little bit on the top and showing a few things, because you really have to go deep into this stuff. But from the point of the discovery of the timing frequencies at the end of 1989, then very rapidly over the next year and a half, the whole phenomenon, which is known as the dream spell, came out. The dream spell basically is, as we said, the dream spell Journey of Time Ship Earth 2013 is the fundamental fourth dimensional toolkit. I think that you have something to say about that.
One thing I wanted to say about how we're only scratching the surface during these 7 days is just simply, if you begin to understand the pattern and that everything's a radial matrix starting at the center, you won't get confused getting way out branches before you've understood the root and of the knowledge system. Same pattern, right. So you're trying to see what's happening to my mic? Okay, there's like that. So that in these first 2 days even, you just relax your mind enough to understand you have to relax to understand the radial matrix. Sorry, I'm blowing out my microphone now. Okay, I'm going to read from the Dynamics of Time, because I noticed in this section 6, which is about the fourth dimensional human tool and the dream spell, I had 3 perfect sections to read on the dream spell, okay, to give you the definition. The dream spell, Journey of Time Ship Earth 2013, is the sum repository of the knowledge of the law of time as a complete set of codes demonstrating the radial mathematics of the fourth dimension. Both the 13-moon calendar and the telectanon are derivatives of and embedded within the dream spell codes. The dream spell formulas of time, inclusive of the harmonics, chromatics, earth families, wave spells, castles, and pulsar geometries, while demonstrative of the pure radial holographic mathematics of the law of time, have immediate social application in the creation of the dominion of time. The dominion of time is the autonomous, self-regulating system of telepathic governance of the fourth dimensional order of reality. Welcome to the dominion of time. And then the section 6.9, in the fourth dimension of time, social form and telepathic order are a unity. I'll read that again. In the fourth dimension of time, social form and telepathic order are a unity. The dream spell codes completely inform the 13-moon calendar and the telectanon with subliminal matrices which can only be completely accessed when the 1260 artificial forms of social organization and communication have been relinquished altogether. So if you thought you could hang on to the 1260 while you were entering into the radial time of the fourth dimension, in our experience, it doesn't actually work. You have to take the leap. So the leap has to do with sit up, straighten your spine, be in the present moment, in the no time of this present moment. So here we are, the galactic compass of radial time. This is a tool which establishes you in the radial matrix. On the back are the rings of time, just like the rings, the tree rings that grow each year. Each of these rings is 52 years. And because we have a precise synchronization date, which is July 26th every year, we have a way that each of you could know your galactic signature according to your date of birth. So when you turn the compass over, on the green ring, you have 13 positions, which show the Gregorian dates and also the 13 moon dates. And from that, you enter into your galactic compass. And the yellow ring of your galactic compass, don't be mystified by this radial compass. The yellow ring is simply a circle demonstration of each of the lines of the Tzolk'in. The galactic tones run in exactly the same sequence. It's just that the pattern moves. Just like in weaving, the pattern moves, the pattern moves. So that's where you have the ability to coordinate a Gregorian date, a 13 moon date, with a date on that Tzolk'in. And then once you get into the yellow ring, you do a coordination into the white ring, which gives you the daily tone of the wave spell, and then that correlates you into the 20 solar seals. And that gives you your galactic signature. Your galactic signature consists of a tone of 1 to 13 and a solar seal, which is either a code number from 0 to 19. So there's two ways in the dream spell that you experience this galactic code of the dot and bar notation system. One way is in the 1 to 13, and the other is in the 20 solar seals. On this, right, good, very good. Okay. So then from there, you also have on the compass the ability to know which wave spell you're in, which then leads you into the ratio in the center to know which of the 5 castles that you're in, and finally to know your Earth family. Those points in the center of the compass show you your Earth family. No matter where those 4 points are, they point to an Earth family. And depending on the guide for the day, your Earth family may be the kin of the day, or it may be a guide. So for example, on the 8th star for today, there's the human is the guide. So the points of the arrows, you've got the yellow up there. So for the yellow pointer, you're on the star, and then the knight, and the mirror, and the Skywalker, because today is a signal family day. And then on the inner ring, the wave spell ring, or the guide ring, you have the Earth family that's the core Earth family. So you have the human, the hand, the wind, and the earth. So this is how the galactic compass actually demonstrates all of the patterns that are also given on the 4th dimensional Tzolk'in.
A few other things. I know that you can go to any number of computer programs and get your galactic signature, and people have also worked out different schemes to locate them very easily. Which is very fine since there's a dearth of compasses. However, I'd like to point out several things about why the compass is so important, because the compass is actually literally a digital computer. You're using, okay, literally a digital computer. It's for reprogramming us and to use our hand of accomplishment to function with this computer. As a digital computer, this has 6 moving rings and 18,980 permutations that are on within this little digital computer. So that's one important point. If we are going to be actually entering into the 4th dimensional consciousness, then it is well to program yourself to use this, because then you are functioning, you are developing another function of your mind and your skill, which is a very primary 4th dimensional function. Also, when Bolanik was talking about the different rings all demonstrate different mathematical ratios. The green ring is a ratio of 1 to 20, because every one of those units occurs in a sequence of 20 days, starting with the Gregorian calendar correlate date of July 26th. So those sequences continue. That's a 1 to 20 ratio. Then the yellow ring, as we said, that's also a 1 to 20 ratio. The yellow ring is just, if you look at this right here, 1, 8, 2, 9, 3, 10, 4, 11, 5, 12, 6, 13, 7. That again, that's a 1 to 20 ratio. That occurs, that's a break every 20 days. Okay? So those are two 1 to 20 ratios. And then when you get to what is called the wave spell ring, that's a 1 to 1 ratio. And as well as the solar seal ring, the next ring here. So those line up to give you the combinations of 13 tones, one of 13 tones, and one of 20 solar seals, which gives you your 260 combinations, which create the entire Tzolk'in. So everything that we're looking at there is on this little program right here. And actually in these two rings, the wave spell ring and the solar seal ring, is the entire Tzolk'in is on those two rings. Then when you get to the fifth ring in here, the wave spell ring again, that's arranged so that when you start with the dragon right here, and it's always moving to the left, dragon and then wizard and then hand and then sun, that's because when you go here, your first number 1 is on the dragon, your second number 1 is on the wizard, your third number 1 is on the hand, your fourth number 1 is on the sun, like, and so forth. So that again is that's a ratio of 1 to 13. Okay, because those occur in intervals of 13, and then you have an attached ring beneath that. Beneath the dragon, the wizard, the hand, and the sun, there's a red ring. Beneath the next 4, there's a white ring. Beneath the next 4, a blue ring. Beneath the next 4, a yellow ring, and beneath the last 4, a green ring. That represents the castle. The castle. There's 5 castles for 260 days, so that's a 1 to 52 ratio. Okay? So you have 1 to 20 ratio, 1 to 20 ratio, 1 to 1, 1 to 1, 1 to 13, 1 to 52, and then when you get to your 4 colors in there, the 4, that's a 1 to 65 ratio. So you have a whole set of mathematical ratios that are actually encoded in there. These are, we said this is, instruments are the tools of fourth dimensional time, and so in that way that we can begin to see that there's a tremendous amount of information that's programmed into that little dial. Okay. The compass is kept inside of the slip cover, and again here you have the 13-tone wave spell, which is also the form of the perpetual calendar. In actuality, all you need for that calendar is the 13-tone wave spell and one schematic of 28 days, because it's the same every moon. Every moon begins on Sunday, every moon ends on Saturday. That's why the International Chamber of Commerce back in 1921 loved the 13-moon calendar so much, because it makes accounting very easy. So that every moon is going to be exactly the same as this schematic right here. On the 4 corners, you'll see the 4 what are called the year-bearer seals, and that's because on the correlate date, July 26th, which incidentally, that is a prophetic date from the Chalambalampa tradition that was established at the time of the dedication of the tomb of Valum Votan on the long count 9.13, and in the Christian calendar in the year AD 692, and the Julian calendar July 16th, on the Gregorian calendar July 26th. Okay, and that corresponds to the Sirius rising. Okay, and the star Sirius plays a very important role. That the very first calendars in Egypt were based on the star Sirius and the rising of Sirius, and the calendars, the prophetic calendar that we are using today was based on that very same point. So that's why that date is there. If you go to Cairo, Egypt, you'll find that there's a big boulevard that runs through the middle of the city, crosses through the very picturesque Zemlyak Island, and into the other side. It's called July 26th Boulevard. When we went to Cairo on our peace mission in 1995, we were very struck by this fact. We were trying to figure out why that was. Well, July 26th is the Gregorian date of Julian July 16th, and July 16th on the Julian calendar in the year 622 is the first day of the Islamic calendar. That's the date of the flight of Muhammad from Mecca to Medina in the famous Hijrah. So that's another very interesting point. But so that's just a little bit about the July 26th, which people are always wondering about. We're talking about going galactic, going cosmic, and that's why the 13-moon calendar piece is based on a galactic synchronization point of Sirius rising rather than on a spring equinox or on a solstice, which are also recognized. So those 4 year bearers are always fall on that date, which is also the same as the first day of the magnetic moon. So this is a wizard year, white resonant wizard, okay? And then this coming magnetic moon 1 is going to be a blue galactic storm down here, and then after that it will be the year red solar moon, and then after that it will be the yellow planetary seed, and then the next wizard year will be the white spectral wizard, which will be 4 years hence. So it just keeps going around like that in the 52-year cycle, which is what is on the back of the compass. Okay, so that's how you locate your beginning point of all those particular dates. So that's a little bit about that. On the other side of the compass, there you have the 26 years of the harmonic convergence. They go from 1987 to 2013. And this you'll see why this is such a critical, important moment, because the 1987 is at this point, and this actually began. This was actually we're talking about the day White Galactic Wizard, which was July 26th of 1987, when this harmonic convergence sequence began. And so here we are. We're now here where it says 1999 White Resonant Wizard, 1999, because that year began on the July 26th, 1999, and then ends on the day out of time of the year 2000. You'll notice that this cycle, which is a wave spell, goes in starts at the cosmic gate and ends at the magnetic gate. Okay? That's because and it goes in a clockwise pattern. This is the winding down of the clockwise pattern of the third dimensional time of history. That's why we said this is the end of history. When we get to this critical point this summer, when we pass through the day out of time, which is why we are here. That's why all of us are gathered here, is to prepare for that moment. Because then when we pass through that moment, then we enter in. When we get to the blue galactic storm, you'll see right here, there's like this green around that. This is the critical moment. Then when we get to the blue galactic storm, then the motion shifts. It goes counterclockwise. Goes the other direction. And the wave spell pattern is always a counterclockwise direction. When that pattern shifts, that means that the Earth is then entering fully into the fourth dimensional frequency. See, this, as I said, has all been set up. What the Earth is wanting to know is anyone else going to get the point? that we are having an Earth shift. There's a lot of drawings over there, and you'll see one of them that says Earth shift, the fourth one from the left. Okay. All these drawings have to do with the preparations for this Earth shift that is now occurring. The Earth shift is being accelerated by different facets of what is occurring to the actual ecology of the Earth, the depletion of the ozone, the disturbance of the electromagnetic field, the solar flares, the injection and infusion of all sorts of cosmic plasmas into the atmosphere. All of these are in preparation for the shift. Right? We are also very close to a pole shift. Much of the research that has been done at Novosibirsk and at the Academy of Sciences, the Russian Academy of Sciences, there has demonstrated that the poles have been moving very rapidly in the last 100 years and increasing in movement, the magnetic poles. The South Pole is moving farther north rapidly, the North Pole is moving farther south rapidly, okay? And we know that there are often pole shifts. If a pole shift occurred right now, goodbye, where we are, okay, where we're sitting here, the effects would be devastating, okay? So this also has something to do with the planetary lineup, which is going to be occurring right now when we look at where we are. Here we are, right here. This is when the seminar ends. This is on the sunstone, this is the day 13 read, right here, when we complete this seminary. Right? And then 4 days hence, after that, when we get to this day here, for Earth, that's the planetary lineup. That's Naui Olin. That's on the Nahuatl calendar. That's the same day. It's called Naui Olin as for Earth. That's the planetary lineup. Okay, and that's a big one. And so then we're preparing, because then we have to start what's called the rolling wave, the rolling time wave, so that when we get to this point here, the 7 mirror, the day out of time, okay, that then we establish, complete our experiment, the telepathic stabilization of the geomagnetic and electromagnetic field of the Earth. That's why we're all here. We're all here right now, unconsciously preparing to consciously participate in this particular experiment. That's the meaning of this year's Day Out of Time, is this stabilization of the Earth. And this is an unprecedented type of telepathic experience that could only be possible because of the discovery of the law of time, that we can take a natural event and place it in the synchronic order, and then through our mind, because we're operating now with our mind in time as consciousness, roll with this wave to see if telepathically we cannot stabilize the Earth, at least sufficiently enough to avoid a pole shift at this point, where then the Earth enters the fourth dimensional frequency. This is what I refer to as awakening the soul of the Earth. That when we do the Naui Olin meditation, is the first stage of awakening the soul of the Earth, of putting human consciousness in resonance with the soul of the Earth, which is resonant with the iron crystal core of the Earth, the octahedral core. This is something the Earth has been waiting for billions of years, to get to this point that can the humans get it to do this in time at that very precise moment. That's the meaning of Naui Olin, the end of the fifth sun and the dawning of the sixth sun of solar consciousness. That's why we're here. So we get our test run when we get to the end of the seminary on the day 13 Skywalker. Other aspects of the qualities of the fourth dimensional time you can find in the journey board. What you see on this part of the journey board here is in the very center of it, you see the time atom. The time atom is a chromatic time atom, and you'll see that it has in green in the center, and there's always this color pattern. It always goes red, white, blue, yellow in this counterclockwise pattern. Red, white, blue, yellow. It's a chromatic pattern. They're all primary colors. Red, yellow, and blue are the three primary colors, and then the white is the combination of them, And then the fifth is always the combination of the blue and the yellow, which is the green in the center, which is the opposite of the red, the complementary color to the red. So there's a function of chromatics, and the time atom, as we'll see, has many other functions. And then here you see the sequence, the planetary sequence that I talked about. Starting here's 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, coming around till you get here, till you get to number 9. And then this is the entry from the galaxy, and then you get to the point of the sun, and then you have the return movement from 10 up through 19, which is the maximum number that you get to at this point. This is Pluto, this is Neptune, this is Uranus, this is Saturn, this is Jupiter. These are the 5 outer planets. These are the planets that are lined up on the other side of the sun in a direct line opposite to the Earth on the day of the Naui Olin. It's these 5 right here. It's very interesting. And then we have the inner 5 here. Along here's Jupiter. Then here's Maldek. Here's Mars, and then here's Earth. You'll see Earth goes with Uranus, Mars goes with Saturn. Maldek and Jupiter are paired at the center. This is called the Midway Transfer Station. You know, if you read surfers and you want to go to the Midway Station, the AA Midway, you got to go right between them. That's called the Midway Transfer. You go there, give me a transfer. I want to go to the AA Midway. But you got to know how to do it. You got to know how to ride the Zavuya. You can't just sit there and say, get me there. You really have to know a little bit more about the numbers. You have to know about 13 and 52. When you get that one figured out, then you can go there and say, I'll take that, punch my ticket, I'm doing the AA Midway transfer. Woo! There you are, up on the AA Midway station. That's where I get all my information. And we Arcturians, you know, we kind of set that up, Arcturus Antares Midway Station, and that's for monitoring events down here. As you know, we got very disturbed after Maldek and Mars, so that's when we set that up. Said, if this experimental zone is not going to blow out altogether, we better set up a monitoring station. We can't, you know, this is as close to interference as you'll get from an ET, is my talking to you. We're not supposed to, you know, mess with your affairs. Okay. So I had to go through this whole problem, this whole trouble of incarnating as a human, just so I get to this point of telling you this, because you're all sophisticated enough to be able to understand this, I think. So that's the AA Midway Station. You have here, this is the Uranus transfer, and this is the Earth transfer. When you get to the Earth transfer, we want to make it, we're in the Earth station right now, and we want to transfer to Uranus, but hey, we can't do it. The system's blocked right here. So that's also part of the Naui Olin Rainbow Bridge meditation, is opening up the time tunnels so we can take our Earth transfer and say, hey, get me to Uranus, and then we go zip back to Uranus. So that's the Uranus transfer, and then you get, this is the solar terminal and the galactic terminal, the Midway transfer, the Uranus transfer, and the Earth transfer. Okay? That's part of the system. Time is holographic, time is fractal, time is radial. Show them a radial matrix. Open that up. The radial matrix of time. That's the same thing you're looking at over here again. See, we have fractal, it's fractally recombinant. Okay? You can have a form that looks like that, and this is the exact same form. We had the form in that compass. That was also the Tzolk'in. Okay? As we call fractally recombinant mathematical form. So you can have it as a matrix, you can have it as a wheel, you can have it as a pure radial matrix, It shows you all those places where it goes 1 to 13, 1 to 13, creating 20 wave spells. One castle over there, there's your red castle, your white castle. It used to be a hamburger joint, right? Still see them around. That was before McDonald's. They got aced out. Okay. McDonald's beat them. Okay. Blue castle, yellow castle, and then the green castle, the green central castle. Okay. Now we have the dream spell Genesis over here on this side. On this side here we see the dream spell Genesis. So that whole Tzolk'in and that whole radial matrix, a kin can be a day, a kin can be a week, it can be a moon, it can be a year, it can be 1,000 years. Okay, so 100 years. Okay, so when we're talking about this 26-year cycle, we're talking about a fractal of a 26,000-year cycle. 26,000-year cycle is, that's 26,000 is where one kin equals 100 years. Okay? Yeah, you can see first, again here, this, yeah, okay. So here, no, I didn't want to do that yet, okay. I didn't want to do it like that. Because people often look at that part. People don't look at or understand this part here, okay? Okay? So here, each one of these units, this red unit, that's 1,300 years, okay? This white unit, that's 1,300 years. And just like the planetary sequence which forms those different planetary cells, like the galactic terminal and the Earth, and the Uranus transfer and the Midway and the Earth transfer and the solar terminal. So we have the same form in the dream spell Genesis. So that what you have is, here's the first wave spell, the second wave spell, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, and the 10th. Those first 10 wave spells coming around like that. That's what creates the first of the 3 Genesis of the 26,000 year cycle. That's called the Dragon Genesis. So every time we go, every 260 days, you actually can time travel and live actually. Each day is actually 100 years. Okay, so when you go through each wave spell, you've gone through 1,300 years. Okay, and when you get to that 10th wave spell that comes around like that and ends at that point there, that takes you precisely to this point here. Okay, those are the first 10 wave spells are completed right there. Okay, all of that's the first 13,000 years. 130 kin equals 13,000 years, where one kin is 100 years, and it takes you to there. And then that's the Dragon Genesis, and the Monkey Genesis then starts at this point here. Okay, but you'll see that the Dragon Genesis comes around like that, and then when you get to the Monkey Genesis, then you start again at this point here. Okay, and then that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wave spells. You have 10 and then 6. That's a 5-to-3 ratio. And then you have the last 4 wave spells here. That's the Moon Genesis. The Moon Genesis begins right here. You have the Dragon Genesis to here, the Monkey Genesis over to here, and then the Moon Genesis starting at this point going here. Now you can open it out. And you can see it on this point here. So the Dragon Genesis is the red castle turning, the white castle of death, the blue, and then you get to the blue castle, transformation of the blue castle of burning. And right when you go through the red wave spell and the white wave spell, and then right here, that point right there is the same as that point right here. Okay? And then the Monkey Genesis begins right in the middle of the blue castle right there, and then continues through 6 wave spells, these 2 and then these 4. So the third Genesis is the entirety of the green central castle. This is where the Wizard of Oz happens. Okay, remember the Wizard of Oz? They all went there. When you get to Oz, the movie goes from black and white to Technicolor. Okay, well that's what happens when you get to the Green Central Castle, and that's the point of the story. The Green Central Castle in the dream spell is the same as the beginning of the 13 Baktun cycle of the Mayan factor. Okay, so that what you have here, those 52 positions there correspond to the 260 Katuns there. So you can see that every day in the Green Central Castle there is the equivalent of 5 Katuns. Okay, you can do that. Think about it. Okay, this is galactic fractal mathematical kindergarten. Okay, you're slowly realizing that you're velotropins. Okay, you're members of the free will zone. You're waking up to the knowledge of the experiment that you have been involved in. So that whole Green Central Castle is the same as the 13 Baktuns that are mapped out on pages 116 and 17 of the Mayan factor. So in the dream spell cosmology, it was precisely at that point, 3113 BC, or in the dream spell chronology, minus 3187, that at that point that we were supposed, the human species having gone through the dragon genesis and the monkey genesis, was supposed to go into the Green Central Castle, but it didn't happen. That's when what is referred to as the theft of time occurred, okay? That the knowledge of fourth dimensional time was substituted for the third dimensional measurements. As I said, the knowledge of the hours and the minutes was already known in Sumeria in 3100 BC. That's the theft of time. Time, the third dimensional time, was substituted for the fourth dimensional time. And so the whole of the process of history, that's why the Maya mapped this whole thing out, so we could see exactly the whole process that occurred in history. The 13 Baktun cycle is precisely the same as that Green Central Castle in the center of the journey board, which corresponds to the moon genesis. As we'll see through the knowledge of the law of time, different tools have been brought forth which establish the principle of what's called fractal time compression, where we are able to begin to redeem the process of history which covered over our existence that was supposed to be occurring in the Green Central Castle. That's when we became time travelers lost in space at that point. And when we became time travelers lost in space, and then that process continued until we got to the final Baktun, the 13th Baktun, the Baktun of the transformation of matter, in which we became 100% immersed in the artificial time. The 1260 timing frequency became complete. The seed of it was already laid at the very beginning of the 13 Baktun cycle, at the very beginning when we were supposed to enter the Green Central Castle. But then that was when the final test, the final phase of the free will test began at that point. And then the 13 Baktuns, 144,000 is the count of my days, it says in the Telektonon prophecy. 144,000 is the number of the elect in the book of Revelations. Each of the Baktuns is a count of the 144,000 of the elect. How many of the elect we're going to remember each Baktun, from Baktun to Baktun? 12 Baktuns passed. 1,728,000 kin had passed since the beginning of this process of the theft of time, the beginning of what we call history. And then when the end of the 12th Baktun came, 1,728,000, that's a fractal of 12 cubed. 12 times 12 is 144, times 12 is 1,728. So the fractal of that is 1,728,000 kin. The cube. The city of Jerusalem is based on the cube. You'll find those numbers in the book of Revelations. All the book of Revelations is found in the Mayan factor, in the Mayan factor being the schema of history, that this is what covered over the green central castle, so that when we get to the end of that, to the end of the 12th Baktun, 1,728,000 kin, the number of the 12 cubed, 144,000 kin more. So that is God's promise, the respite. You have 144,000 more days, the number of the elect, the original number of the elect, to see if you can recover the memory of what happened and why you are here on earth. This is the essential cosmology of the dream spell, of the Arcturus probe, of the free will, Velatropa sector, of the Holy Quran, of the Holy Bible, and of every sacred tradition, is to solve this mystery. So the discovery of the law of time came, of course, in the 260th, in the final cartoon, that very, very last cartoon. And that's why we say that this could only have come at this time, okay? That it is the final revelation of the time of history. And this revelation confirms all previous revelation. If anything that is true is confirmed and affirmed by this revelation. So that's why this is the final synthesis, the final moment to prepare humanity for the moment of 2012, 2013, the completion of the cycle. What is occurring right now is of a nature that is both physical, spiritual, and mental. When people say, what will happen? What will happen? Is the earth going to be destroyed? Will a comet come here? Will everything stop? Will the sun and the moon collide? It's a function of consciousness. That's why the sixth son of consciousness, is referred to as the sixth son is referred to as the sixth son of consciousness, because we've passed through the previous. We're finishing the fifth son. All the previous sons have to do with material qualities. Every sun ends on the day that the name of the sun is derived. Okay, the first sun is the sun of 4 Jaguar, or 4 Ix, okay? And that sun ended on that day. The fourth sun was the sun 4 Water, Naui Atl, and that ended on the day 4 Water. The fifth sun is the sun Naui Olin, the sun 4 Movement, and that sun ends on the day 4 Movement. And then comes the dawning of the sixth sun, okay, which is the final, the solar sun of the dawning of solar consciousness. So that's all happening right now. So when we say, what is going to happen? What's going to happen is up to you. Don't expect someone to tell you 14 red bricks will fall on your street with your name on them. No, it's up to you what is going to happen. That's why this is the test, okay? And the test begins very, very soon. In fact, we're in the test zone already. The free will trial, the free will experiment, all of that is now absolutely at this point where we are entering the test zone. That's some of the cosmology of the dream spell. There's other aspects. Where's that oracle board? Yeah. Everything in the mathematics of the fourth dimension is a perfection of order. We mentioned that, for instance, the 20 solar seals function with the 20 numbers, okay, the 019 code. Okay? And each of the seals, for instance, the 0 up on this corner here is the sun, and then the 1 is the dragon, the 2 is the wind, the 3 dots is the night, the 4 dots is the seed, and then the 5 again up here is the serpent, okay? And now we're in the 8 which is the star. And we can go to the oracle board and find that every single one of these seals has a perfect set of mathematical relationships. Okay? For instance, we look for number 8, which is yellow, and so yellow star, and we see it right there, that it is in this position right here. The oracle board, the time cells, red, white, blue, yellow again, and the 5th one is green, just like in the journey board, red castle, white castle, blue castle, yellow castle, and green castle in the center. So these refer to the different time cells, the red time cell, the input time cell, the white time cell, the store time cell, the blue time cell, the process time cell, the yellow time cell, the ripen output time cell, and the central one, which is the matrix, not the movie, but the time cell. Okay. That's also another one of those, these movies come along, they're just right on the subliminal level of consciousness. There's like this Total Recall, the Schwarzenegger movie, where it's almost real. We're almost there, and it's a whole projection of why we're not there. So that's what projection of why we're not here, is why we're not in the green central castle, and what's happening as a result of our not being in the green central castle. That's the movie matrix. Now, we're here in the yellow position of the store time cell, and you'll see right there, that's the code number for the star. I said star is 8, and today is an 8 star is also kin 8, so we have the 3 8s, the kin 8, the tone 8, galactic tone, and the code for star is 8. 888 is 24. That's why Dr. Arcturus decided to pay a visit, because that's just about his favorite number. His agent, Arguelles, on the Gregorian calendar, was born on the 24th day of January. So we have always a set of relationships. We have the analog relationship, which is always on the right, and on any one of these numbers that you look at, the number of the analog combined with the number of what's the central position, the destiny kin, is always going to be 19. The 19 is one of the big number mysteries. And that was, as we'll demonstrate later on, the 19, the Tzolk'in is actually woven of 2 basic numbers, 7 and 19. Now when I rewrote 19 in galactic notation, it consists of 7 notational symbols. The sequence of redemption and resurrection goes from code 7 to code 19. Okay. So the analog always adds up to 19. It's always going to be the planetary partner. Okay. In other words, today is 8, and then the analog is 11, monkey. Those are the 2 seals for Venus. So this is a Venusian day. And then on this side here, that's always going to be what's called the antipode relation. It's always going to be a number 10 less or 10 greater than the destiny kin. And this you'll see, correct? Okay, that's 3 bars and 3 dots, 18. That's 10 more than 8. Okay, so that's a very specific mathematical relation. Below is the occult relation, and the occult relation, any occult relation added to the destiny kin is always going to be 21. So the 8 here, and then below is the 13. 8 and 13 are 21. Any sequence on here is going to have absolutely the same mathematical relationship. This is a perfect mathematical order. This is the mathematics of 4th dimensional time. It's something that's so simple and so elegant that we should be teaching it to all of our children, so that they have harmonic minds and harmonic numbers, and they're not going to be like you people who say, I got a block against math. What's that guy talking about? Okay? No more mathematical blockheads. We want people who are awakened in time consciousness, a whole generation to replace this generation, awakened in time consciousness. It's very elegant and extraordinarily simple, but you can imagine what a deal it was to arrive at this. Okay? You can imagine what a deal it was to figure that out. So Okay, and then here, yeah, here. Okay.
I just have to do one favorite theme here. So when you introduce people to this dream spell kit, to remove the mystery, really start them out with the red, white, blue, yellow is a pattern, the time cell, 4-day sequence. Red, white, blue, yellow. Then you take them to the castles, and then when you take them to the oracle board, turn this board over, and then you have all of the functions of the 019 code, all of the ways in which the code number works. Now that's not the 13 tones of the wave spell. These two are showing you the 019 code. So your position in your Earth family, you can study it completely on the inside of the oracle board and on the back of the journey board. And then when you turn the two boards over, now you're demonstrating the 1 to 13 tone wave spell or the 13 tone cosmology. It's extremely simple, but egoic third dimensional humans love to make things complicated. So one of the challenges of the dream spell is to indicate that life is harmonic, that life is a radial matrix, that you as the mandala are in the center of life's drama. And the Rinri for today, which I forgot to mention this morning, is that life is a drama produced by God, and you play a leading role. Now, if we teach our children that they are the center of their universe, and we give them a harmonic mathematic based on the Vigesimal system, and then on the 13-tone system, the wave spell system, if we were to give the children this cosmology, you know what kind of harmony this world would have. Well, that's the goal. This dream spell kit was not created as an esoteric parlor game. It was created so that the children of planet Earth could learn this system, beginning at a very early age. And then the time as art process would clearly come out of this. When our children speak this language, they will be liberated from the constraints of the third dimensional materialist world. Finally, we have the holonomic identification of how we can show ourselves that we and the planet are one. I'm just trying to get it ready. So there we are. So we have the planet holon and the human holon. So our resonance, we have to establish ourselves with our galactic signature. We know what our Earth family is. Then by our Earth family, we can place ourselves on the planet from the North Pole, the North Temperate Zone, the equator, the South Temperate Zone, and the South Equator, and we can equate that with the 5 chakra system. So if you are in the polar family, you are a polar kin, and that consists of the sun, the serpent, the dog, and the eagle. Then you move down to the cardinal family. That's your throat chakra. It's the North Temperate Zone. The cardinal family consists of the dragon, the world bridger, the monkey, and warrior. And then the heart, the core family, that's my family. That's in the equator. How many core family out there? Hi, you're all my family, okay? See? That's fourth dimensional ego. Okay. That's earth, wind, hand, and human. And then in the south temperate zone is the signal family. Now, signal family, you unravel the mystery. And that's because your family is occult to itself. So today is a signal family day. That means the star is in the main position. In the occult position is the Skywalker, which is in your family. And then the antipode is the night. And then also the mirror is in your family. So you have a very special position in that whenever it's your day, you have both an antipode in the reading and you have an occult position. And finally at the South Pole, we have the Gateway family. And of course, you're the special family that codes the July 26th date. So it means whenever there's a venal, it's a day of your family. That green ring, because this year is a wizard year, every one of these positions on the green ring is wizard. When next year, when it's a storm year, every one of the green positions on the outer ring is a storm. And then after that, in the yellow seed years, every position is a seed, and when you get to the years that are the moon years, every position is a moon. So there's a profound harmony and synchronization, and then the synchronic order is established because on a daily basis, you can establish yourself in your position on the planet, you can know exactly which chakra you're in for the day, and then you can know your relationship to the day. So we are not isolated at all, and synchronicity is the norm.
You hold them. Okay. So today, for instance, is a star day. So we know that then we are in this region here. My favorite part of the star is Easter Island, okay? Rapa Nui. There we are. And that extends over into much of Chile and part of Argentina and South America and much of the South Pacific there. So that's where we are today on the planet Holon. So you telepathically tune into that zone. And on the human Holon, you're in your solar plexus. So you tune your solar plexus to that zone on the planet. So this is what we mean by establishing holonomic identification. So we're taking the human and we're identifying the human with the planet. Okay, the planet needs this to happen. The humans have been doing anything but that to the planet. And so, as a part of the process of the telepathic healing between the human and the planet, every day we establish this, what's the holonomic identification. Tomorrow will be moon, and we're going to be in the Antarctic zone, okay, in the South Polar zone, and that's going to be connected with our root chakra. So you'll see that that the pattern moves, the daily pattern moves in this diagonal form, star, moon, and then the day after that, when it's the 10 dog day, will be up here crossing the Bering Strait. And then the monkey day will be right where we are in North America. The human day, we're going to go to Vandir Natal Casa Grande's land, Brazil. Then the Skywalker day, we're going to be fishing for the Skywalkers in the South Atlantic. Then finally, the Wizard Day will bring us back into the South Pole. So it moves, the day, the pattern moves around like this. This is called the movement of the chronosphere. The chronosphere is the sphere of time. That the sphere of time is continuously coating the fourth dimensional etheric body of the planet in this pattern that's moving around like this. It's continuous. It goes in 4 or 5 day sequences, which are called chromatics. A chromatic is always going from the same color, for instance, from the white dog to the white wizard. That forms a chromatic. And today, tomorrow we're in the red chromatic, which began with the Serpent Day. Those are the chromatics that go from the pole to pole, and then we'll talk later about the overtone chromatics. The overtone chromatics start at the South Pole and end with the signal family. The overtone chromatics start with the root chakra, and like in Taoist meditation practice, jump from the root up to the crown and then move down to the solar plexus. So those are the two kinds of chromatics. We'll talk more about that. So every day we're imprinting the chronosphere, the time sphere of the earth, with telepathic identification of our chakra system with different regions of the earth, and also, not to forget, our fingers and toes. That all of this, the whole cosmology, the planetary cosmology, is completely on our fingers and toes. We literally incorporate and embody the cosmology of time. Okay, that's why the hand accomplishment as the galactic karmic seal of the earth. Okay, because we embody all of that. So today, for instance, is the star. We find that the star is down in our right foot. Okay, down there, and that is what we call our ring toe, the fourth toe. Okay, on the right foot. So that's you touch your fourth toe. Take your shoes off sometime, and hey, say hello to Venus in your fourth toe. Okay. This is more than just stuff for the kids. This is how you get all absolutely reconnected. This is your circuitry in time. So it's all there within the body, within the planet. So we're dealing with, as I said, time. The discovery of the law of time demonstrates that time is a whole system ordering principle. You can identify the cosmology of the solar system. You can identify the pattern of the planetary holon, the chronosphere of the planetary holon. You can identify all the patterns within your body. You can identify the tones and the articulations of your body. That's why we always say it's such a joke when you look at a clock or your watch to see what time it is. Because that has nothing to do with it. You already are in time. You are time. You are time incorporated. This is not a magazine. But you are time incorporated. You are the embodiment of time. And that's another part of the revelation of the discovery of the law of time, and really the big cosmic joke. That's the real big cosmic joke, is that we are time. We don't need, I can see what time it is. All you need to know, just look out there, hey, time to end this show, okay? Little tree told me out there. Hey, buddy, cut it out. These guys got to get some rest. So do you. Listen, it's been great. We'll do this some more tomorrow. Okay, 2 more sessions. Tomorrow we cover with our topics next are time and morality for the next 2 days, and tomorrow will be time and morality, the experimental zone. Oh, we're just warming up today for the experimental zone. Okay, so. Good. Get a good night's rest. If you can't figure it out, put it beneath your pillow. Sleep on it, okay? It'll come to you. It's all right. Don't have a block against this stuff, okay? You deserve to treat yourself